Welcome to this week's Race Room. Coming up on today's show, we've got all the latest from the world of F1, WRC, and we're talking teammate battles. So you might have noticed our new backdrop, Singapore Grand Prix, only 4 months away, and if I cast my mind back to last year, what an event, what a race. We had an incredible time. If you missed it, if you didn't know about the channel back in September 2013, here's a little snapshot of what we got up to last year. So if you like the look of that and you want to go to your first night race, go to www.singaporegp.sg/tickets. It's there on the screen. Make sure you don't miss out. It's going to be a great race. Right, so time for news and the first round of the European season in F1 out in Barcelona at the weekend. We were there. This is a weekend that people look forward to. It's when all the F1 teams bring their technical upgrades. And if you missed Mark Priestley, aka F1 Elvis, he was on the channel over the weekend explaining all these upgrades. So why don't you check out that video? There'll be a link to it at the end of this one, and he'll be online today answering any of your questions. So if you want to post a comment or ask another question, get in there. Make sure you do it today so you can get all the feedback and take all that amazing knowledge that Mark has. Get involved. So looking at the race, it was another Mercedes 1-2 and another win for Lewis Hamilton, his 4th consecutive win of the season, beating his teammate to the line by 0.6 of a second. Now, I looked up on the internet, what takes 0.6 of a second? Well, actually, it's the amount of time that you can say a number. So like 1 or 2. So that's how much time separated these two Mercedes, and quite frankly, they are way ahead of the game. 50 seconds nearly separating them from Ricciardo, who took 3rd place on the podium. And what else did we learn? Well, we now know that Lewis Hamilton leads the Drivers' Championship. 100 points now. He has 3 points clear of Nico Rosberg. You can see he's pretty chuffed there, and Nico and him enjoying the champagne on the podium. We also learned that Sebastian Vettel, the 4-time world champion, can still overtake. There was times last year that I thought he might have forgotten how to make a manoeuvre, but he actually managed to work his way up from 15th on the grid to finish in 4th place, just off the podium behind his teammate Ricciardo. And interestingly, it's worth pointing out that Vettel actually set the fastest lap. You might have thought that the Mercedes, with that huge advantage, would have set the fastest lap, but no, it was Vettel. Even after all the problems he had over the weekend, the wiring loom issue, a new chassis to get used to, he still managed to pull it off. And there, yes, some very avid fans there asking Vettel for his number. So F1, a great weekend, not a thrilling race, but at least we're back into the European season, and we do love that. Now, on to WRC. Jari-Matti Latvala taking his 2nd win of the season. His first was out at Rally Sweden, beating his teammate Sebastien Ogier to the top spot. Seb Ogier, though, saying he's not actually that bothered. He said it's no big deal that his teammate's beaten him, but who knows, perhaps later on in the season when he's needing a few extra points or he's trying to make up some time, perhaps he'll regret not getting the top spot. Chris Meek took 3rd place, completing the podium for Citroën, a great confidence booster for him, and actually stopped a full VW podium. Andreas Mikkelsen just falling short and having to start on Rally 2 rules as well. So a lot going on this weekend. WRC Argentina, F1 in Barcelona. So much to get your teeth into as a motorsport fan, and that's your news. So as I mentioned in the news, it was a very close battle this weekend between Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg, looking very friendly there, chinking the mum champagne on the podium. But it struck me, there's a lot of inter-team battling going on at the moment if you look all across motorsport. So we've seen it in the past, Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button. I thought I'd have a look what happened this weekend with teammates. So yes, F1, Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis managing to just pip Nico to the post with his ability to drive consistently consistently not using as much fuel, and that means he doesn't have to start the race with as much fuel, which means 0.1 of a second advantage during a race, which in a race like the Spanish Grand Prix out in Barcelona, that's 6.6 seconds. So huge advantage that Lewis is going to be gaining over Nico, especially with the Mercedes, the dominant engine that we've seen this year already. And you can see Nico looking a little bit annoyed as Eddie Jordan pulls up a seat next to Lewis on the podium. So a little bit of battling going on, a little bit of head scratching. Interestingly, Lewis doing the head scratching there. He must be thinking, gosh, this is incredible. I'm doing so much better. I'm getting more out of the car. And Nico thinking, how can he match it? How can he beat him? There's so much potential for even more rivalry throughout the year. And who knows who will end up being the Drivers' Championship. So that's F1 team battles. If we look into WRC, as I mentioned, Jari-Matti Latvala beating Sebastien Ogier this weekend. So interesting to see that, VW right at the top of their game. Andreas Mikkelsen also challenging for podium spots, but at the moment it's between Jari-Matti Latvala and Sebastien Ogier. Jari-Matti in second place of the championship, Sebastien Ogier still leading, but will it stay this way? And will the teammate battle actually come into play and maybe give them a disadvantage, battling, maybe going off? We saw both of them spin this weekend in Argentina, so it could lead to a few problems, and hopefully Jos Capito will keep his boys under control, but always worth thinking about that too, the pressures of being with the same team. Then we look across to World Touring Cars. Sebastian Loeb, so an old World Rally driver, he's competing against his teammate Jose Maria Lopez, and he won this weekend in a race that was actually curtailed because of the weather out in Slovakia. He won, beating Jose Maria Lopez. Ivan Muller actually didn't really compete for the podium this weekend, but again, another inter-team battle, and I'll talk you through another one that we need to look out for this weekend coming up. But I just thought it was worth having a little chat about that, and maybe you can think of some other teammate battles that are going on at the moment in motorsport. If you can, comment below and tell me who you think should be winning out of all these teams jostling for that top spot. Right, so time for what the camera's seen. Let's have a little look. What have we been spying with our lens? Now, this was on the way back from the Spanish Grand Prix at the weekend. We were at Gatwick, and this poor lady got stuck. She managed to get through into the electronic passport reader. Her bag didn't. We thought it was just quite funny. Poor woman, we've been delayed. It was all rather stressful. Probably just added insult to injury. So that's number one on what the camera's seen. Number two, this was Romain Grosjean, Lotus F1 driver, having a go with a simulator at the Human Ignition premiere event out in Barcelona. We were there. If you've missed that, have a look on the channel. You'll find our burn event video. Quite cool. Lots of sort of showbiz, red carpet vibe going on. And this is Romain Grosjean having a go to have a look and see what F1 might be like in the future. And finally, we love this shot. Now, you can't see, but you probably guessed, it's Lewis Hamilton giving one of the grid girls a little bit of a spraying with the champagne. Not in that way, but we quite like this. Thanks, James Moy, for this picture. She thought she was safe, but when racing drivers are around with a bottle of champagne, you're never safe. And that's what the camera's seeing. Get in touch, send us your pictures. If you were in Barcelona at the weekend, why don't you send us your picture, and we'll probably put it up next week. Right, tweets of the week. Let's open up the Tweety Jar. Who is in here? Right, Jake Humphrey. Never seen champagne sprayed into the face of a teammate with more pent-up frustration than Nico just now. Too funny. Yeah, well, as we've been talking throughout Race Room, teammate battles going on. And I always think it is kind of a good sign of who gets doused the most with champagne. It's kind of like, and actually you can see a little bit of anger, and I think Nico Rosberg probably using that to vent a bit of frustration. And yeah, let's hope for a win for Rosberg. Otherwise, by the end of the season, it's going to be unbearable. Next tweet, please. Oh, sweet. My daddy drives for Williams. This is so sweet. I love this. Felipe Massa and his little boy in the paddock in Barcelona this weekend. That's great. Love that shirt. Not many people can pull that one off. Next tweet. Yes, as we mentioned, rain stopped play out in Slovakia for the World Touring Cars this weekend, and this is Citroën Racing, obviously the team that Sebastian Loeb drives for, talking about preparing the cars for race 2. Yeah, just unbelievable rain. Can't believe it. Stopping play, or stopping the driving. Probably don't envisage this happening anytime soon with World Touring Cars, but quite a fun picture nonetheless. Next tweet. I love this. Poor Maldonado, I mean, he's just the butt of so many jokes when it's crashing. We've had pictures of him crashing into hospitals, obviously not him, but lots of graphics and images cropping up talking about Maldonado's choice driving style. Another absolute corker from him this weekend. Don't even know what happened going around that corner at the weekend. It just kind of verged off and into the wall. But nonetheless, a great t-shirt. Wonder if you can buy those. Let us know if you can or if you have one. And the next tweet. Aaron Glover, Hamilton to pits, my rear ends everywhere. Yeah, this is classic. Martin Brundle saying Imodium's good for that during the race commentary. It's interesting, isn't it? In the heat of the moment, you forget what you're saying and just words get joined together in such an awkward way and just don't even want to think about Hamilton's overalls at this point. Next tweet. May the 13th, 1990, so on this day, Grand Prix Diary have tweeted in San Marino it was Bruno Giacomelli who set the record for the slowest lap time in F1 history. How awful, that would probably be my lap record, I reckon. Pre-qualifying with a lap over 7 minutes, can't believe it really. This weekend, what we have, like 1 minute 25, that was I think the qualifying time. Gosh, I don't want to be known for the slowest lap in F1 history ever. It'd be terrible, and that's your tweet. Right, so looking ahead to this week, we've got Chris Silt coming in to talk to me on the sofa tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the Bernie Ecclestone bribery trial. If you've got any questions that you want answered, why don't you comment below and I will put them to Chris tomorrow. So get in touch about that. This weekend, it's MotoGP Le Mans. And as I mentioned earlier, lots of teammate battles. Another teammate battle with Dani Pedrosa and Marc Marquez. Marc Marquez on 100 points now, looking for his 5th consecutive win. Dani Pedrosa, very strong in France though. He won last year in the wet and he's won in every single class out in Le Mans. So, who will be victorious this weekend? Keep an eye on the channel, we'll be following that very, very closely. And as I mentioned at the top of the show, do not forget to go to www.singaporegp.sg/tickets to get your tickets for this year's Singapore Grand Prix. We will see you next week.
You can see here in the picture, this is the picture of his new chassis. It's the main bulk of the car.
Let's make the racetrack intelligent grass that moves or flows in response to vehicles.